harvest some beans, green beans from the bush beans that I planted, and compare the differences, or get the results between the three different methods that I planted them, and see which one comes up best. I can tell you which ones I think are doing better already, so let's take a quick look at them before we start making the harvest and the measurements. Okay, so this one is the one that I just scraped the grass off, no digging, and of course no tilling, and it seems like this one's done the worst because it's had the most weed pressure, and so it seems like it's done less than the other ones. I've gotten right behind that one, the one that I just flipped, or dig, flip, and plant method is what I'm calling it, and that one has seemed to have done the best so far, with the fullest looking bush beans, has the biggest leaves, or the most leaves, and then the beans seem to be the most abundant just from visual assessment. And then in the back, the one that seems to have done intermediate is the tilled set of beans back there. And I've thinned them out over the past weeks a little bit so that each plant should have plenty of room. And I've tried to mulch them all equally around the edges, just with grass clippings, lawn clippings, and such. So I've tried to keep everything equal. There might be slightly different numbers of plants per row, but we're going to get the weight of the beans from each row and then divide it by the number of plants, so that we will have the average mass of beans per plant from each row. So whichever row has the highest weight of beans per plant is going to be the one that is doing the best. So let's get to it. First, I need to get my harvesting bowl and zero out the mass of the bowl. And that will be stored on the scale, assuming nobody hits the button while I'm outside harvesting. I thought it was worth mentioning that the only care I've given to these beans after planting them was initially watering them to get them sprouted and established, which is maybe about a week or maybe 10 days or something, and then after that I haven't watered them at all until about 2.5 hours before harvesting them right now, because it's been a week or so since we've had rain, and so I wanted them to have a chance to get nice and perked up and hydrated before harvesting. I think that gives you a fresher product and makes the greens more snappy-like, since you could say they're snap beans. That's all the watering we've done, so it's very low maintenance other than the adding the mulch around the rows. And one other note, I won't harvest anything that's smaller than, I guess, about my pinky. If it's shorter and thinner than my pinky, then I'm going to leave it on the plants. Definitely seems a very low yield so far on the no dig, no till, scrape the earth method. Okay, so you see maybe that's about the smallest bean that I harvested. There's a fairly small one. And you see on the plants, there's, several more beans, but maybe they're still longer than my thumb, but they're very thin, so that means they got a lot more growth they can put on them. So I'm not harvesting anymore. Because that's all the large ones that I could find. So that's it for row 1. So here's the mass of the first harvest of the tiny little row, 2.36 ounces. I gotta count how many plants that was on the row. So I just went out there and counted, and that was there were 16 plants. Okay, now you can see on the middle row it was just dig, flip, and plant. There's a lot more big beans, so let me get to harvesting them. Okay, obviously a much higher yield. So this is almost a pound of green beans here. 15.8 ounces. And this was for 15 plants instead of 16. So let's write that down. There we go, 15.8 ounces per 15 plants. One more to go. Alright, so last row is the rototilled row. And you can see some good beans on there. And just from visual inspection, I think it's going to be the middle performer compared to the other ones. Now you could say there's a chance that this middle row here, some random reason, has higher fertility than this one and this one, but these are spread only 2 feet apart, and they're in the exact same patch of lawn, so I see little chance for this middle row to just happen to have had higher fertility. And of course the sunlight, the amount of sunlight that each row gets is the same, and the amount of water that each row has gotten is the same, because I haven't watered them, it's just been the rain. So everything seems to be pretty darn equivalent, but the method of preparing the dirt is the only difference. So let's harvest this last row, see how many beans I get from it and what their mass is, and total them all up for the comparison. So there's the harvest from the rototill row. I did find one more good sized bean on the dig and flip row. I have to add to that total and adjust it slightly. Okay, looks like 5.5557 ounces. We'll go with 5.55 ounces from the rototill row. Still got to count how many plants that was. And here's the mass of that one bean that I got from the dig and flip method. Are you safe? So there's the numerical results, folks. I double checked that that middle row dig and flip method was just 15 plants, and the other two methods had 16 plants total, And so let's do the math. Okay, so let's look at this. Sorry for my sloppy penmanship. So the 0.148 ounces per plant, that's like, based on that one bean, that's practically less than one bean per plant on the no dig, no till, scrape the earth method. That's definitely the worst. And then down here, the rototill method was 0.347 ounces per plant, which is maybe 3 beans per plant on average. And if you look at compared to the method that did the best, 1.07 ounces per plant on the dig and flip middle method, which is 7.2 times more than the no dig, no till, and 3.1 times more than the rototill method. But the rototill method was probably about 2 point something times more than the no dig, no till, scrape the earth method. So clearly we have a leader in the results. So here is the visual comparison. Least, middle amount, and most. From above here. The most is definitely the most. So if all 3 rows were the dig, flip, and plant method, if all 3 of them were this, then I would have a healthy yield of green beans. As it is, I got not too bad. From this one row, that's enough for a nice family size serving there for everybody in the family. This one, not so much, maybe a couple of people serving for the rototill method, and this one is a small single serving. So that's it. I'm going to continue adding to these totals over the coming weeks as I do second, third, fourth, who knows how many picks from all the plants. I'll continue to keep track of how much each row makes and give you the grand total in this video. So.